Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello! And away we go. Go with the old one. The old style. Welcome back.
There's nothing wrong with old school.
No, Gettin Salty Experience podcast. It's the only one that brings the Firehouse Kitchen Table to you, with me and my hoarse voice. Roofy, Gons, great show. You got a good guy coming up. Another FDNY legend, I'll say, right, Roofy?
What? FDNY? What? I still don't know what we are. Wait. Sorry, FDNY. I'm sorry, let's go.
We're going to have a guy on from Florida, and then we just said, nah.
No, we weren't going to do that. We said XA on the Florida A.
I did actually enjoy the helicopter guy last.
He was good. Well, he wasn't from Florida. He was from LA.
LA. No, I know, but I'm just saying outside of FDNY.
Right. You know who's from Florida?
What's his name? He's got good hair too. I can't.
Oh yeah. Oh, Gonzo. We'll have Gonzo on the show one day.
Gonzo. I'm not from Florida. I live here, but
right.
Looks a little sweaty down there, Coobs. Finally, it's good.
Yeah,
good.
It was about 800 degrees down there.
No, did you guys? How are you dealing with the floods up there? By the way, I just saw the news. It was the city got freaking hammered. Queens and whatnot. Yeah,
we had a lot of rain here by me too.
Bell Boulevard.
It's good to see guys like Procaccini in there. Hasn't signed up for the thing yet. A lot of guys without the green lettering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Appreciate the little help that you give us from the podcast. Thanks, guys.
That's your guy.
Procaccini's and he's coming on the boat cruise too. You think he would throw $4.99 a month to sign up for the friggin' membership?
Your guy.
Holy crap!
Yeah, he's your dude.
Good Lord, got a bunch from Johnny Albanese, QC Beast, they're all avid fans, but nobody wants to join the membership. All right, I'm done plugging. I'm done. How much can you hurt my feelings? I'm done. Moving on. Let's play some commercials really quick before I lose my voice. And then,
all right, we're gonna listen to Vince, and
Vince is coming on the cruise.
He is. Mr. Vince will be on the cruise, and you guys are gonna collaborate on what you're supposed to be doing, and as the Northeast rep.
The landing. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The Northeast rep.
I'll be able to talk to him because I'll be there. Roofy will be able to talk to him because he'll be there. There's only one guy here from the show who's not going to be there. The guy goes on cruises every 5 days, but he can't come up to go on this cruise. He's busy.
You know, I unfortunately have some words for you.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Sorry, kids, if you're listening at home. I apologize, but I mean it in the most loving way.
All right. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, well, there we go. Mr. Vince.
That's awesome.
Need a new floor for your fire station? Choose an armor-tough interlocking flooring system to cover your aging, stained, cracked concrete or epoxy floor. Around for nearly 20 years and proven to be the best choice in renovating your station floors, covering nearly 600 floors across the country, Armor Tough is proudly made in America and comes with a lifetime warranty with floors that are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, and no disruption in the process to your station's operations. Our system is guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. If you damage one tile, you can lift and replace without anyone knowing. And once it's installed, your floor would be easy to clean with just soap and water. It's not only for apparatus rooms. You can install an Armor Tough floor in virtually any room and choose from the hundreds of colors from the Designer Series or, if you like, from the Utility Series floor coverings. Are you in need of gear racks, an extractor, or gear dryers? Install an Armor Tough floor in your apparatus bay and take full advantage of a deep discount, saving you thousands of dollars on any of the Grove products line. Why install a breakable epoxy floor that'll need replacing in 5 to 10 years when you could have a floor that will last a lifetime? The Armor Tough flooring system is half the price of epoxy and will last a lifetime without issue, more importantly. Join the hundreds of career and volunteer departments nationwide who have chosen an Armor Tough interlocking tile floor. Call Vince today for a no-obligation quote at 917-7697.
Sweet. You know who just got an armor tough floor?
Who?
Jimmy the Guinea.
Oh, he did.
Yep.
Good for him. Did he?
Wearing his
We'll play him next. Here's another guy who's going to be on the boat cruise. Jimmy. Jimmy will be there. I'll talk to Jimmy about it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Here we go. New Jersey Fire, you fuck.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Fire Hooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
Yep, we already got some Chief Boyce fans in there saying we got a legend here. Yep. All right, guys, play the final one that I've been harping about. You know, like Procaccini just refuses to join.
Andiamo.
Oh, here we go.
Looking to take your love for the fire service to the next level? Then join the Gettin Salty Experience YouTube Premium Membership Club, where the stories burn hotter and the history runs deeper. As a member, you'll unlock exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, from History with Hashhagen, where you dive into legendary FDNY fires and the men who fought them, to feature-length documentaries spotlighting the rich and gritty history of the FDNY, told the way only Gettin Salty can. You'll also get early access to special interviews, behind-the-scenes content, and members-only perks designed with our most loyal followers in mind. Joining is easy. Just hit that join button right in our YouTube channel and become part of the Brotherhood. Support the show, celebrate the job, get and stay salty.
Get and stay. That voice is just smooth.
It's like
this is beautiful. What is that, velvet?
Took a little delay there. I'm like, damn it.
Looking around. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Bring him in.
All right,
do
coming
your
to the
thing.
stage, FDNY Assistant Chief Robert Boyce.
panty drop.
Hello, gents.
There you go.
You got the young girls screaming for you there. Look at that.
They won't stop. They keep going.
Throwing the panties
Look
at the
at
stage here now. It's doing his best Tom Jones rendition right now, bro. Before we dive into Chief Boyce's career, though, we got to get patriotic.
All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
By the way, the girl MJ is coming who sings the national anthem.
Yeah, you got the name finally?
I don't want to rub it in guns anymore, but just it's going to be so touching when we go around the Statue of Liberty and she's singing.
Can you just FaceTime me?
I'm getting overclamped. Here.
I had to weigh my options. Take my dad, who's deteriorating, or go ahead with you guys.
You don't have to explain to nobody.
I just wanted to throw it
There
out
he
there.
is, though. I got him. I already got him, bro.
Look at the left one.
Once you start explaining, we're done.
Next, moving on.
All right, Chief.
All right, let's do this. Let's get this.
Let's go. We got a guy 76. We're talking rough. But before we get into your fire service, tell us a little about the early years of a Robert Boyce? Where you grew up?
Well,
Home life?
I mean, who's your audience? Like, who's listening?
A lot of guys. Jimmy Grant just popped in.
Well, I mean, like, are they young guys? Any young guys?
We got a variety of guys.
Old
Variety.
like me.
Young guys, older guys.
Well, I'm going to share with you like pretty personal stuff because I think that people might see it and say, well, if this guy can do it, I can do it, you know. So first, I think you're scraping the bottom of the barrel by calling Bob Boyce up, but that's besides the point. You know, I had a pretty tough upbringing, and the fire department, the fire service really, I think, saved my life. My parents were, married very young, right out of high school. I came along. I lived with my paternal grandparents. You know, we all lived together, and my parents never owned a home. They didn't graduate high school. My sister came along 6 years after me. And my parents got divorced when I was 6 and she was an infant.
Wow.
So, I was really raised by my mom and, welfare and food stamps. And it was tough. And I moved to Malvern, to Limburg, into the Malvern School District in 1965 during the race. There weren't riots, but they were forced busing. And I just remember it being very, very tough, and I only share with that because there might be some people that, weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And, so I just wanted to share with that. Yeah. My father, I loved, obviously. They were both alcoholics. And my father was not easily aroused to activity. So in other words, I don't want to say he was lazy, but he
good way of saying it, though.
Politically correct. I like it.
I loved him, and that brings me to how I got involved with the fire service. So he was a volunteer fireman from 1956 in Valley Stream, and like when I would go with him on the weekends, he would take me to the firehouse and hang out and blah blah blah. Right. And I just, I enjoyed it, and I was a junior fireman from like 8 years old, and then they had an explorer post from, I think it was 14 to 18, and I participated in that, and then I got sworn in on my 18th birthday in the volunteers. So that's kind of how and my father had really good friends that were FDNY. And one guy that I really gravitated towards was this guy, Bobby McLaughlin, who just recently passed. And he was a fireman in 28 truck, I'm guessing in the late 60s.
Wow.
And he got severely burnt, respiratory burns. I think he had a year on the job. And he was in the hospital for months. And he had one lung has 2 lobes and one lung has 3 lobes. And he had a lobe removed from both lungs where the burns were. But he just somebody I looked up to and I wanted to emulate. And he became a nurse after that. And, just a guy that I really admired. And then there was another guy, Tom Bosch, that was a fireman in 40 truck and 105. And another guy, Tommy Hendricks. We were all in the volunteers together, and I just looked up to them, and I wanted to emulate them. So that's kind of how I got involved. And then, they always seemed happy.
Right.
And I just,
a recurring theme, I might add.
So,
did they push it to that, or you were already
push? I wouldn't use the word push, but my father pushed me towards civil service. Where Bobby, they were close friends in high school, pushed me to go to school, So I did try college. I mean, I barely made it through high school. I was a poor student. And then I flunked out of Nassau Community College after a year. I couldn't do it. So I had gone to Bose's for carpentry, so I banked
wow,
for a year or so, and then I went to work for my uncle, and then I joined the volunteers on my 18th birthday. And one thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention was I looked at your list of who has done this interviews before. And guys I really admired and looked up to and worked for was Donnie Haid, Dennis Murphy, Kevin Shea, Bobby Sarno, John O'Connell. We were firemen together on 102. Vincent Dunn, he recruited me to go to the 3rd Division as a new lieutenant.
Vinny Dunn.
That he killed off. I worked for at headquarters.
Tommy Richardson. Chief.
Yeah, these are slackers.
There's a slackers on that.
I looked up to and worked. And Tommy Richardson, we were firemen together in 102.
Tommy Richardson, that's a...
And Jay Jonas, we got promoted together, and Tom Galvin and DiDomenico. And one other thing I wanted to mention was, before I got too involved, was, I was a little apprehensive of doing this because of the 12-step recovery programs that have what you see here, what you hear here, what you do here, let it stay here when you leave here. Mm-hmm. And, there was I think a UFA poster in the firehouses over the years.
Yeah, forever.
And, I honestly believe in that. And I'm not going to share anything, that's not beyond the statute of limitations, but I just wanted to share with that.
Yeah. Hey, wasn't Bobby Sarno a volley in where you worked too, over in Valley Street?
Yeah, we grew up together.
Right.
He was much older than I was, but
I'll remind him of that when I see him.
It still looks good, though.
I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah.
No, we were like 2 or 3 years old. He's older than me, but we were in the Explorers together and the Volunteers together. And one of the fires that I wanted to talk to, as a matter of fact, I think it's picture number 2, his dad took. And I wanted to share with you that fire.
Oh, it's his name's there, Source, Robert Sarno.
Right. I'm sure his dad was I'm sure he was a big photographer and took the picture. And baby Bobby, I don't know where I got it from, but that fire, really shaped who I was. I mean, I really don't want to go back with the Volunteers, but it shaped my whole career as a fireman. And it was the night before Thanksgiving in 1979. And I had gone to the Ranger game earlier that evening with my cousin who was down from college upstate to spend Thanksgiving with my family. And my tones went off, the plectron went off, and it came over as the Temple Gates of Zion. So I lived literally around the corner. You could see the building from my bedroom. So I looked out the window and I couldn't see anything. So I had gear in my car. I jump in the car, I go around the corner. I'm the first one there. And there was one of the assistant chiefs lived a couple of blocks away. He got there. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. There was some people milling around. I had turnout gear in my car. The first engine pulled up, and I jumped on the back step. I took the first 3 folds of 2.5 and the nozzle, and I pulled it off. And you really can't tell here, but there was a walkway to the main entrance to this synagogue. And we stretched the line, and obviously it wasn't looking like this at that time. But I got in the sanctuary, and we had to make 2 turns to get towards the front of the building. And I turned around, and my best friend, Mike Moran, was backing me up. So I didn't have a mask on. He didn't have a mask on. He had gear borrowed from a company. And all right, we're going to, do what we have to do, put the fire out. So we're hitting what I think is a lot of fire. And we're moving in, hitting fire, moving in, hitting fire. But something really weird at this fire. and never happened before and never happened since, that I think we were moving in too quick, too much, too fast. So I said to Mike, I'm going to go out and get a mask. I'll be back. So I go out to get a mask, and in the front here, there was windows that it was basically opposite of where we were hitting. So I kind of said like, oh, this would be a good place for horizontal ventilation. But I didn't take the windows, and before I got a mask on, I hear a whoosh, like a really loud whoosh. And I said, what the fuck was that? So I go running in back to the door where I came from, and guys were burnt in the foyer there. And I went back into the sanctuary to look for my friend Mike. And I got in a little ways, and he basically got himself out, but he was badly burnt. And so I got help. There was about 11 guys burnt. And
Wow.
I got my friend Mike was pretty seriously burnt. So I got a stretcher, and we got help for him. And there was an ambulance about a block away on Corona Avenue in Valley Stream, and wheeled him down to the ambulance. There was an EMT there, and they were working on him in the back of the bus, and there was nobody around to drive the ambulance. So I was going to jump in and, drive the ambulance to the hospital. Then a cop came. He said, "I'll go. We're going to Nassau County Medical Center." So they take off, and now the fire is looking like it is. What happened was it was a cockloft explosion. So the ceiling and the roof blew down onto the guys. That was the whoosh that I heard. So I couldn't participate in the fire anymore. So I had to go and tell Mr. Moran. So he lived about 6 blocks away from the fire, and I drove to the man's house, and his my friend Mike's 2 sisters were there, and they were young. And I said, "It's your dad. I got to talk to your dad." So he came to the door. I said, "Mr. Moran, Mike's been hurt." I said, "You got to go to the hospital." So I drove him to the Nassau County Medical Center, and Mike was in bad shape, and he was, talking, but he was very bad. So he lived for about 2 weeks after the fire. There was another guy, another fireman, Captain John Tate, that was badly burned too. He lasted 8 days, and Mike lasted until December 8th. They only allowed immediate family. So I initially had told them that I was his brother. So towards the end, the doctor calls me and he says, "Bobby, come on in. Mike's not doing well. He's not going to make it." So I said, "Okay, I'm not his real brother, but I'll tell his dad." So he died, and in the interim, Mike was the captain of our company, a volunteer company, Valley Stream Engine 4, and we had gotten a brand new rig, and he was instrumental in getting us this new Max CF beautiful pumper, and we worked to get the pumper in service while he was in the hospital. And the first official thing that we did with that rig was his funeral. So I was 21, he was 23.
Wow.
So that matures you for the rest of my life. So I wanted to share that.
First off, Chief, that's we appreciate you telling that story, because that's I know that can't be easy for you to say
at all. No.
Well,
how did you?
Part of my firefighting, experience.
No, I know we all have these little things. How did you? Like my first gut now, I didn't realize that you were going that way. How did you feel? Like, obviously you said, and this is your best friend, I guess, your brother. but like, how lucky did you feel or bad did you feel that you got out of there, like, by chance?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, it's a crazy
I had
freaking
survivor's guilt for a long
Yeah.
time. I stretched the first line. I was the nozzle man. And like I said, something told me you're going in too fast, too deep, too fast. And, it was 1979. I mean, we had masks, but we didn't have them on. And I says, I'm going to go out, get a mask. This way I can, continue. And he said, okay. I said, I'll be back. And
Wow.
it was 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, listen, we say all the time.
But,
I don't know if it's your time, it's your time. I don't know what
good
the answer
friends,
is.
Good friends that were there got burnt. And it was a shit sandwich for a long time. But
did you use that when you became an officer? Did you use that experience?
I don't think I brought that scenario up, but I certainly, it's part of me. It's in my DNA now. So
as an officer,
one of the cool things.
Would you tell guys to slow down, like in the back of your head, so we understand?
Yeah, I mean, as an officer, you usually have to, pull guys out. Like slow down, come on, going in. But one of the cool things about that happened positive for that story was for the last, I don't know how many years is it, 79, so 44 years, 45 years, that either the Sunday before or the Sunday after Thanksgiving, 5 of his close friends, we all get together and we go and visit him at the cemetery. We say never forget, but we never forgot. And I think it's a cool thing that we do. We started out just the guys, and then when we got girlfriends and wives and kids, we'd meet at each other's houses, and we've been doing it for since 1979. And unless I was working or I couldn't get off or whatever, I was there, and so was everybody else. So we visit, we tell the same stupid stories every year.
That's all right.
Because I only knew the guy for like 6 or 7 years, and now it's 45 years later, and he was on our list. He was on our fireman's list in '77.
Really?
Yeah, I was 4,000 something. He was 5,000 something. So he would have been on the job. And
well, Coobs always says it's not a slogan, right? You either live it and you really don't forget, or we all had guys that through 9/11 and stuff like that. Yeah. So you could say it, wear a hat or some shit like that, but it takes a lot of effort to do that for 40 years to make sure you guys are.
You didn't come up with the name of the day. I got to drink by myself.
You ain't drinking by yourself, Chief. Not after that story.
To your brother.
Right.
To Mike.
Well, sorry to break down, but
this is how it is.
All right.
That's it's
I'm sweating right now.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Chief, was that Mac an open cab, Mac? Was it old school or was it an enclosed cab? Do you remember?
No,
Obviously, you remember.
There was a company in Valley Stream that had one of the open cab CFs. That's still, that was go back. That's the rig, So that West End Avenue is a funny story. So West End Avenue is in Coney Island. So one day we're, half in a bag. Group of guys getting a car.
Allegedly.
And,
this is how these things happen.
We were volunteers. We were allowed to drink. So we went to Coney Island, and we had to get up on somebody's shoulders and axe the West End Avenue sign. But
I like it.
That was a story in itself. But that was the rig that we got in service.
Yeah, that's a nice rig. Nothing beats those Macs, man.
How did you keep? Obviously, that's a job that could push people not to do that. Like, how did you still keep the motivation to get on the job? Like, how did that happen, or did you even think about it, or you wanted to do it?
No, the thing that kept me going was Mike died doing what he loved to do. I mean, that's all I can. We went to funerals together. Other volunteers that died over the years. We'd go together, we'd tell stories, and he loved doing it, and he was good at it. And he worked for a fire supply company. I don't remember the name of it, but it was in Franklin Square, and he did extinguishers and whatever else they did. But He just loved it. It was his body. It was his life.
So, yeah, I got
so
you.
that's what kept me going.
Well, sure. Well, with that, Chief, just really quick, I don't want to go too far ahead. In the beginning, you wanted me to show picture one with when you were talking about the initial days of Valley Street 1. Was this the picture that you wanted to show or talk about? I don't want to miss it.
No, I thought you were going to show that for the introduction, and you used the one with the ice.
Yeah, I like that was a pretty cool one. So I wasn't sure if that's what you wanted to do.
I wanted
to save that because I don't have any. I've been watching
that freaking picture my whole career. Like
what picture?
The one that I used for the thumbnail.
What? This one right here.
Let me see. 1, 2. Oh, that one's great.
That's why Chief, when you sat down, I'm like,
I don't want to.
This is a golden shot.
At that spot already. He's already in 102. So we'll
wasn't.
We'll wait till we get there. We'll wait.
But that's
we'll
bring that back up.
Like I wish I had more pictures. Like I see guys with in front of the rig or in front of a fire and 6 guys. And
you were in the fire building, Chief. All these other guys are standing around.
Yeah, standing around with their thumb up their ass.
I would come out of a building. I'd see a camera. I'd walk the other way. I just. But that picture, I don't know who took it, but somebody.
You don't get my good side.
Yeah. All right, so 77, you take the test, right, in December, but in the meantime, you got to go slumming. In 82, you become an NYPD.
I took a lot of civil service tests. That's my father steered me to that, not an education, or a formal education anyway.
Right.
I took the Port Authority police. I took, other fire departments tests, and I took the 77 tests, which I was 19 years old. I don't know if I had long hair. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you got any of those pictures?
I just took it,
those. Where are
they
those
had
pictures?
They had the applications up on the counter in the Volly Firehouse, and you took it, and a bunch of guys, and we get in a car, and I did work out somewhat, and I went to, I think the city had some classes that I went to, but I really didn't do well on the test. I mean, I just passed. I was 49-44 on the list, which that helped me later on because I says, well, it ain't never going to happen again. So I just got on. And if it probably wasn't for the women, they probably wouldn't have extended the list the way they did.
Right.
So
things happen for a reason.
I went into. I always wanted to be in the busiest firehouse I can get in and the slowest precinct I can get in. So it was. I
always say,
I'll
run into burning buildings all day, but I ain't chasing anybody behind the house with a gun.
So I was in Forest Hills, 107 precinct.
Oh, nice.
And right near Queens College. I wasn't married. I worked 4 to 12s. It was great. I had a good time. I would have enjoyed it more if I knew I was going to get on the fire department, but I didn't know.
Right.
And but I took another FD test while I was on the police department, and I ended up getting. So this is a funny picture. So.
Well, this is your PD days, right? I'm assuming that's you in the PD uniform.
No, that's me, the tall guy.
No way.
So
with the curly hair.
Look at the locks.
Oh shit.
So the picture's funny because that's my partner. I was still a cop.
No.
Yeah. So the other guy, Kevin Powers, was in 217. We were very, very close. And he says, "Come on, watch with us. I'll get you a uniform." So we go to DeKalb Avenue. I have my gun in my pocket. And we go to the firehouse, and Gino Savastano was there. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but great guy. He was a fireman at 217, and he died, I believe, while he was an active chief in the 2nd Battalion, but a great guy. And they're going through the lockers saying, "Oh, yeah, you're about the size of so-and-so." So they gave me a fucking uniform. We took the train into the city. We did what everybody does on St. Patrick's Day. So this is St. Patrick's Day, 1983. So as I'm walking or marching, whatever you do, I see my partner. So that's Jimmy Avendet. He's probably watching tonight. Because I told him, I says, I'm going to have a picture of you on there. So I see him. I says, come on, we got to step out of line and take a picture. So that was my partner.
That's great.
That's a good spot there.
Did he know that you were obviously looking to get on FD?
No.
Oh, no.
There wasn't cell phones at the time.
I'm saying, did he know that you wanted to get on FD? Like,
he was a volley too in a different department.
But, all right.
We always talked about the real job.
I can't get over that head of hair there.
And we would buff a lot of fires. Not that there was a lot of fires in Fresh Meadows, Queens, but when it was at 10:59, we would go. And
nice.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty good picture.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, well, I don't have many, so that's. So I got called in. That was March of '83. I got called in June, and very, very happy day in my life.
Sure.
I had to go. I had to forget what you call it. You have to, vouch your guns. So I vouched my guns. I had my PD shield in one pocket, my FD shield in the other, and yada yada yada.
You went to proby. Who were you in proby school? Anybody that?
I don't really remember too many guys. I mean, there was this guy Burns. I don't remember, Kevin Burns, I think his name was. That he ended up in 102 when I was there. But I don't remember a lot of guys from. I do remember. I think there was 300 people, and 150 of us were cops. It was like unbelievable. Half the class.
That's why they were changing it, right, Chief? I mean, then in the end, that's why they changed it.
I mean, I could understand that you train them for 6 months, and I did a year and a half. But people, would get out. There was this one guy, I remember, a long Greek name. We were in police academy together. We went to the fire academy together. He went to 237. I went to 230. He went back to the cops.
What? You never hear.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I'm mentioning it.
That's bizarro world.
It's definitely real.
He had a nice gig. I think he was like the PC detail or whatever. He had a tit job. But
so when you were in proby school, were you putting in the call to the fixer, or did you leave it to
I really
luck?
didn't know anybody. I honestly tried my best. I mean, there was a guy, Bill Dunn. He was a lieutenant in 114. And he was there. I'm trying to think of the chief of department at the time was, I think, the captain in 114. And really good guy. I don't remember his name. But Bill Dunn, let it rest his soul, but he kind of took a liking to me for whatever reason. He was there on a punishment. And he had to do one class as a punishment. So he says, Bobby, after the 6 weeks, he says, Bobby, I'm gonna put you in for a truck company. I says, Lou, all due respect, I really appreciate that, and I know, but because I know they were going to slow trucks. Right. I says, I'd rather go to a busy engine, and I have a little bit of an in. So
I know a guy.
Bobby, I understand. I understand. You're 100% right, but through my whole career, after he died, and I would see him have, his kids won the job, got promoted. I would get promoted. He would be there. I'd go up to him. How you doing, Lou? But so I had the guy Kevin from 217 Powers help me. At the time, Jimmy Boyle was, I think, the Brooklyn trustee, and he was a fireman at 217. So Kevin went to Jimmy Boyle and said, yeah, I got a friend of mine getting on, blah, blah, blah. Can you put him in the neighborhood? So, that's all I had. And which was, it ended up being enough.
Perfect. Yeah.
230 is a great spot.
It was a great spot. And,
we hear Chief over and over and over again. Around that time, it's the same, right? What the engines that circle 111, right? It's like 230, 217, 227, 283. I forget what
222. Yeah.
Right, 222. Right. So it was all those engines that were by themselves that
Single
have such
engines.
a small first due area, but they at that time were doing so much work for a first due area that was like 10 by 10 or some ridiculous thing, right?
Well, I mean, I got there, I would say, towards the end, obviously, of the war years.
Yeah, but they were still doing.
But I
work.
just wanted to mention because I did write. So my first captain was John Banbury. He just died. Gentleman. George Grossman was one of the lieutenants. He was a fireman at 103. Great guy. Jerry Ercolino I was in his groups. As a matter of fact, my first night, he gave me the nozzle. Joe Russo was a senior man. Orman Samuels, I looked up to him like a father. Frank Truccio, Carmine Granada, Bobby Lawrence, Greg Simonara, Richie Croce, Barney Riley, Richie Razowitz, Jimmy Gasparino, who I think was backing me up the first night we had a job. Mike Thompson, Steve Mendolia, Tommy Swanick, Walter Searing, Tommy Auer, Brendan McSweeney, and Jim Jaggett. I mean, these were, great guys that I enjoyed working with. And, I was only there for 3 years, but I loved every minute of it.
You caught a job your first night tour?
So, yeah, he gave me the...
Gave me the nozzle, first night tour.
10 first due boxes.
Well, we were second due. We weren't first due.
All right.
But I know I wrote it down somewhere. The first night, and the guys, knew that this one guy, Jerry Ercolino, gave the proby the nozzle. Because, and I thought it was a little weird, but I kind of understood it later on in my career that if he's going to get spooked, let him get spooked on the first fucking night. Right. And now we know who we can, count on.
Right.
So he says, "Okay, Bobby, you got the nozzle. Jimmy, you're backing him up, and blah blah blah."
You're either
so
in
it wasn't the first run, but we had a job, second due with 216 at 48 Humboldt Street on the corner of Debevoise Street, and second due and vacant, and back then everybody stretched their own lines. We went to the floor above. And I remember no flooring. We had to crawl along the beams.
Nice.
And, the fire's coming up. And, okay, Bobby, open it up. And, so I think I didn't fuck up. I mean, I don't know how I did, but I think I did.
Did you get the nozzle again? That'll tell you.
Yeah.
I was put on the rotation like with everybody else then, after that. But it was tremendous guys. I was blessed. And right. 217 and 230 were like brother sister companies, and we did everything together. We did our dinner dance, we did our picnics, we were able to swap out vacation mutuals and 2 single engines. And back then you only worked within your battalion. So there was 235, 214, 217, 230, and 111. So there was 4 or 5 engines, and that was it. So you only worked within your battalion, so you get to know everybody.
Right.
Yeah. It was great because you knew everybody. Now you're all over.
Yeah, we worked with Eric Allen was from 217. He came over to the squad later years, obviously.
Yeah,
good guy.
So what did you do, like a 30-day? Oh, who's it?
Sorry, I don't want to get too far ahead. I want to sneak it in here.
Yeah, that's proby school. That's my wife, girlfriend at the time.
Make sure we get that in here.
No more curls, Coob.
Yeah, what happened to the curls? Proby schools, what happened?
Schools, exactly. So, all right.
Nice Italian young lady. You married a nice Italian young lady?
Well, we met on a cruise in 1981.
Did they have pineapples back then on the cruise ships? Sorry, Chief. I just want to throw that in there.
My friend Eddie Garrity was fireman at 102,
right.
And he put together this cruise.
There you go, Frank.
And it was I think 2 or 3 other firemen. So my friend Kevin, Eddie's brother Steve, Eddie. I wasn't on the job yet, but nobody knew everybody. There was 8 of us, so 2 rooms of 4, and I was going out with a girl for like 4 years at the time. I don't know how old. I must have been like, I don't know, 23 years old. And yada, yada, yada. And she was from Bensonhurst. So she was on with her sister.
He knew about a girl, Coobs. He knew about a girl.
Yeah.
He didn't go to the World Series. He had to go check out a girl. That's what happened.
Yep. And how many years later now?
We met in 81. We got married 40 years ago.
Nice.
We just celebrated our 40th anniversary.
Never had a fight.
Congratulations.
Very nice.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Lou?
Never had a fight.
Right.
Oh,
well, that he won anyway. So
yeah, exactly. She's playing Mahjong tonight, so that's the only reason I put the piece of quiet.
Crazy.
I'm using my 2 hours with you guys when I could be having my piece of quiet.
My wife. I've been playing golf, so my wife plays Mahjong with the girls at the golf course over there, and we're playing for $20 a hole, whatever the heck we're playing. She comes in, she's like, I'm like, how'd you do? Did you win? She goes, yeah, I won. How many games you won? I won 3 games. Oh, good. How much money did you win? $1.50. Yeah, they play for
$1.50.
Yeah, see, Chief knows $1.50. I said, at least do $5 a game or something. What the hell are you guys doing? They're freaking crazy.
They're talking about their husbands. That's what they're doing.
Too busy
bitching about the husband.
Yeah.
So you get a hankering to go to the truck? You had enough of the engine work?
There's a picture, number 4.
Number 4 is actually you and your wife. So is it B5? This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a pretty, somebody took the picture. Obviously, I wasn't posing for it, but that's Chris Gliana. He was a Lieutenant 111. I was still a proby. That's Dinger. I don't remember his real name, but he was
first name Hum.
Yeah.
You tell him that. I'm not telling him that.
With all due respect, my friend.
And Kenny Connolly is behind Dinger. So Lieutenant Gliana and Kenny Connolly are sharing a cigarette. But, I worked any chance I could get in 111. And then short time after I was there, Rescue 2 moved to
Bergen Street?
Bergen Street.
Bergen.
So they were in the 5-7, so I would try to work over there as much as I could. But that was a picture, very few pictures of me at a fire, after a fire.
This is what somebody just wrote, Chief. Said,
there you go.
I took your picture when you were in the proby detail to 111 with Chris Gliana.
There you go.
Huh.
Yeah, Jeff was, he sent us a lot of picters from that area at that time.
Well, now I know who took it. Thank you, Jeff.
All these years, you had no idea.
No, to tell you the truth, that I just even knew it was a something that only a couple of years ago somebody sent it to me. So I didn't know it, for the first 30 years of my. Anyway.
So how come you didn't go to 111? What made you go to 102?
Dude, I was just gonna ask that right there. Boom.
Well,
102's in there.
I put in for 6 companies. First, I started studying when I was a proby, and how that happened was a good friend of mine, Billy Youngston, was in 111, and he knew that I had some cop time, and he guessed when the lieutenant's test was going to be. He knew I was studying for sergeant for the police department when I switched over to the fire. And he said, "Oh, Bobby, you're starting a study group. You want to get in?" I said, "Billy, I'm a fucking proby, He said, "You get 3 years. You're going to be, you're going to be eligible." So I was eligible only because of the police time. But I was in a great study group with Billy Youngston started it, Tommy Demore from 44 Truck, Kevin Powers from 217, Pete Hart he was in the Bronx and he transferred to 155. Jimmy Kane was from 44 Truck. We just had a great study group, and we all got promoted, and that started in the fall of '83. So I was on for like, I don't know, a couple of months, 6 months, and I started studying, and the test was spring of '86, and but one story
I wanted to get to the truck.
Well, one story I wanted to share was pretty funny story. So the Christmas Eve of 1984, I was on the job about a year, a couple of more months in a year. And so years ago, I'm assuming they still do it. The senior guy, the junior guy works for the senior guy on Christmas Eve, and the senior guy works for the junior guy on New Year's Eve. So Joe Russo was one of the senior guys, seated chauffeur. So I says, Joe, you're working Christmas Eve. Will you work for me New Year's Eve and I'll work for you Christmas Eve? Yeah, okay, Bobby, great. He had kids. So great. I don't have any kids. Okay. So I come in Christmas Eve, and nobody wants to drive on Christmas Eve. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So they're all bitching. Who the fuck's driving? I don't want to fucking drive. You fucking drive. No, you drive. Who's working for Russo? Boyce. Let him fucking drive.
That's always the case. Who's working for the chauffeur, for God's sake? Yeah, let him drive.
So George Grossman was the officer. He says, Bob, you drive these things in the volleys? I says, yeah. He says, jump in. Come on, we're going to go around the corner. I get in the rig. We go around the corner. I put it in pumps. I hook up to the hydrant, blah, blah, blah. He says, all right, go back it in. He says, your company qualified.
How many pods did the Spiritus out there? You're good.
You're driving tonight.
Driving tonight. So I said, all right. Never spoke on a radio, never did nothing, right? So I'm a proby. I'm sitting at the house watch where I belong. They're all in the back cooking. And I guess it's around, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Beep, boop. First due. Phone alarm, blah, blah, blah. First due, let's go, So I get in the chauffeur seat. I start it up. So I forget I thought I wrote the address down, but it was underneath the L on Broadway, Beaver Street, somewhere down there. So the lieutenant says to me, he says, you know where this street is? I said, no, but I know where Broadway is. So I go, so we go underneath the L, and they're like this. They're like this. They're waving us in. So I make the left. It's blowing out 2 windows on the first floor.
Oh, my God.
It's an old law tenement. And they had to drag a burnt woman out of the street so I can go to the hydrant. So the locals dragged her out of the street. I go to the hydrant. I pump 3 lines.
Oh, my God, dude.
230, 217, and squad 1. They had 3 line stretch. I fucking pumped 3 lines. So Santos, drop the tank. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. But it was my first run.
First run as a chauffeur. You're pumping 3 lines.
I was off probation, but I was just off probation.
It's time to shine.
But
anyway,
that was my
first. Did you get an attaboy from the lieutenant after that?
Well, just I guess I did what I had to do. I just impressed that I didn't fuck it up, and
yeah,
we got water. So
holy shit, that was kind of like a common thing, I would imagine. Like stick the new guy in there. I don't know.
Not too many guys, I guess, their first run gets a
that's
3
true.
line
That's
fire.
not common.
Not like that either, where they carry people out. But usually, if there's, as we should say, partaking, then it's always that new guy. Stick that kid up there. What could happen? Actually, they're hanging out the windows and.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but anyway.
Dragging a burnt lady out of the way of the hydrant.
Yeah, that's always good.
I couldn't believe it. Because I go like this, I'm pointing to the hydrant, and they dragged her out of the way, so I can go to the hydrant.
Can't make that up.
It's fun.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Good shit.
So, Lou, you asked the question. Why'd you go to 111? Why did you? Oh, you put in for a bunch, right?
Sure. So let me talk about the test. So the test was in 86. So I took the test in May of 86. There was cheating by somebody, a member of a fraternal organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to steer you towards the newspaper article naming the guy, but there was rumbling about throwing the test out. So I knew I wanted to go to a truck, as soon as I could. I put in for 6 trucks. At the time, there were spots for 6 companies. And it was right after the lieutenant's test. And we had we had a covering new captain. So I go in, 111 was first, 102, 108, 123, 132, and 176. So I had 3 years on the job. So I go up to the captain. I says, hey, Cap, how you doing? I'm looking to go to these companies. So he laughed. He says, Bob, you're not going to these fucking companies. I says, well, I appreciate that. I understand that, but can you do me a favor and sign it? So yeah, okay, here I go. Here you go. So he signs it. And that was the summer of 86. So all summer they're saying, oh, they're going to throw the fucking lieutenant's test out. They're going to throw the So I was friends with, other students. And I said, look, if they throw the test out, I'm going to pull my paper. So Eddie Garrity, good friend of mine, he was in 102 and they were in the 3-4 battalion. So he calls me up. I don't remember which first. I think he called me about, they threw the test out. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to pull my paper. Like an hour later, he calls me, oh, and by the way, you got transferred to 102. So September 6th of 86, I got transferred. And the only reason why I didn't feel bad was that was a studying house. It was a real studying house. I was the 17th guy to get promoted out of the house, 16 out of the truck and 1 out of the engine from that list. So there was a lot of students, and I kind of just, everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's got to study again. So it was for 3 months, September, October, November, December, that the test was given again in December of that year. But they were all welcoming. And
were you the junior guy there when you got there, or there was other guys with less time?
I doubt there was anybody there with less time, but my first captain was Dennis Cross.
I was going to ask you if you were.
Yeah, I mean, he was my first captain. I got a funny story about my first day there, but John Dougherty was a lieutenant. Frank Deletto was a lieutenant. Joe Dirks, who was a Gordon Bennett winner from 103, was one of my lieutenants. Jay Tavallaro, who was my mentor because we were in the same groups. He was one of the chauffeurs, and we ended up getting promoted the same day. On lieutenant, I was 763. He was 762 on the list.
Wow.
Hank Mellon, who ended up retiring as a lieutenant, 175. Pete Hassler, John Cannon, Mike Daly, Eddie McGrath, Eddie Travis, who was
Eddie Travis. He's the 5'7" chief. He became a 5'7" chief.
Eddie Garrity transferred out of 102 and went to Rescue 1 because he didn't do as well as he thought he was going to do on lieutenant's test. John O'Connell, Tommy Richardson, Mark Ferran, George Belnavis, Billy
Ferran
McGovern.
was there too? Holy shit.
I'm sorry?
I said Ferran was there too? Man, alive.
Well, hopefully he hears this, that he was on an onion skin when I got transferred there. And he says, what the fuck does this guy comes here with 3 years on the job and he goes before me? I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up.
Was the Richies weren't there yet? I guess they came after you, Raz and
no, they were there,
Croce?
but they both, Razowitz and Croce, transferred before me.
Before you?
A year or two, I don't remember. But Billy McGovern, who was a battalion chief in the 2nd Battalion, died on 9/11. Mike Banker, who I think retired as the captain of Squad 61.
61, yep.
Ray Coyle, Bobby Ola, Donnie Boyle. And then I know we were talking about, Lou, about the 4 guys. So that was Croce, Razowitz, Dennis Pace, and Billy Alfanos. That was the guy you couldn't think of.
Yes.
So there were 4 guys from 230 that transferred to 102 that had seats together.
The guy told me when I got in there, Coos, my first tour as a lieutenant.
Right.
I turned the MDT around, to me, and we're flying like we're going towards 111's area, and we pull up, and as I'm going to hit the 84, he turns the MDT around, and he says, "Yeah, Lou, don't touch the MDT. I'll take care of everything."
All All right.
I went like this. Oh, okay.
When in Rome, bro.
And Captain Murphy, Dennis Murphy, he said to me when I was getting promoted out of 288, he was my captain. He said to me, when you get there, go upstairs, relieve the guy, obviously, get ready, go upstairs. When you make the BF4 out, just take a look and see how much time the guy's got, bro. It was, was just coming up on 10 years. All those guys, Richie, I think it was Grimaldi. I mean, it was Ray Pollard. All those guys had 25 years or more. All of them,
Right.
I didn't even go downstairs. I went downstairs. I gave him the BF4
and you ran away.
And then I went upstairs.
No, they did the roll call, and they used to do anyway.
No, they
did a legit roll call.
No, they did.
And I remember covering as a captain there years later. And I said, come on, we'll do it a roll call. No, let's go. Fucking roll call. Everybody,
roll call.
So
I tell that story too. With Chief Travis, I think this was that first night. We go there. I think it was like a valve alarm, and the water was leaking out underneath the roll down. So I was going around the side to see what was going on, and I hear the saw start up. And they cut the roll down gate for the water leaking out, right? So I come around and Chief Travis is there. It's like it was July, 100 degrees. All the guys got their jackets off, and they all have cut sleeves. I think I told the story. They all had cut sleeves, T-shirts with cut sleeves. And Chief is there, and I go over to him to introduce myself for the first time. I'm like, oh my! And I never was dressed properly, Coobs though. I go over to shake his hand. I got the shirt on, buttoned up, everything right. And I'm thinking to myself, he's gonna rip into me with these guys. Next thing I know, he's talking to them, everything. And I get to the firehouse and I says, wow, man, I thought the chief was gonna ream me out because everybody was out of uniform. He's like, Lou, Chief Travis, he was a 102 guy. I said, oh, he's a 102 guy. I went upstairs, I cut my shirt. I came downstairs. I said, hey, when in Rome.
Mike Travis's father?
No, I don't think so. No. I'm sorry, Chief. I just was thinking about 102.
No, it's a great spot. I loved it working there.
He hated working there. He didn't like anything about it.
I could have easily stayed the can man for 35 years, no problem.
Yeah. Did you ever give your can up?
Hell no. Let's see the ice picture now. I want to hear the story because I've been looking at this picture for like 30 years.
Well, can you show the one with the building first?
Sure, absolutely.
So that was a story. That was I almost bought the farm that night. So it was a little background. I worked Tuesday, January 12th, 1988, 6x9 tour. So I was working for some reason, I was working two straight tour, night tours, January 12th and January 13th. So January 12th, I went to a fire and it was cold out, very cold out. And I had a scarf around my neck underneath my coat. And I went to a fire and the scarf melted around my neck. So it was, I guess it was polyester or whatever, but, I says, oh, this ain't good. So I went in between tours the next day, in between tours, I went to this place called Accurate Fire Equipment and bought a hood. So hoods weren't a thing then,
Right.
They weren't a thing, but I said, if it's a fucking cold night, I'm going to, buy a hood, so now I'm working Wednesday the 13th, and early on the January 14th, there was a fire where they're putting up a new building there. Mm-hmm. There was an old building, and that was 583 Franklin Avenue. So we get assigned, and this is between Atlantic and Pacific Street in Brooklyn. We very rarely ran south of Fulton Street, but it was a busy night and companies were all out of sorts. It was early in the morning. It was just starting to get light out, and we're going down, I don't know what street, down south. So I remember Richie Croce he had the irons, I had the OV. So I remember saying to him, I says, Rich, oh boy, I hope the fire ain't out by the time we get there. He says, oh, don't say that. Oh, I said that one time and I got the shit beat out of me. So sure enough, we get there. Al Petroselli was the covering captain before he got the spot in 102. And we get assigned to the exposure, which was where that arrow is. That was 585, I believe, Franklin. So we get assigned, okay, search exposure 4. So we go into exposure 4. I note the front fire escapes. I got the OV, and we all go up together to the top floor. And the captain says to me, Bobby, you go to the rear. We'll start in the front, and we'll meet in the middle and keep going. I says, all right. I go all the way to the rear. I note that there's no rear fire escapes. So now I'm searching from the rear towards the front, and they're searching from the front towards the rear. Now it starts getting shitty. So they decide to go down, unbeknownst to me. So I'm searching towards the front. I'm getting towards the front room, and Greg Simonara in 111's bucket is coming in that window off the fire escape there. So I says, Greg, it's getting shitty up here. Now, we were firemen together in 230. I knew his capabilities, great fireman. I says, Greg, it's getting shitty up here. I'm going to just search this room and I'm going to go down. So he pulls the bucket. He says, okay, Bob. He pulls the bucket away. 214 was stretching a line to the top floor, a dry line to the top floor. And that's when the shit hit the fan. The whole third floor lit up. So now 214's on the landing, and I'm in the front room. So they all dive through the fire, down below the fire, and I'm stuck in that room there. So my first thing that I'm fearing is I'm going to die up here with my cheater. My cheater. I didn't have a face piece. That was the thing I was thinking of. So I give like a half-ass urgent. Yeah, 102 OV, I'm up on the top floor. So now there's fire out those 3 windows on the 3rd floor there. So the chief says, go to the rear. Go to the rear. I know I go to the rear. I'm a dead man. So I yell out to Greg in the bucket. I says, Greg, man, come and get me. So they kept the fire in the window from a line in the street. So I was in the window where the arrow is. So he says, what window are you at? I says, off the fire escape. So he drove the bucket through the fire, through the smoke. I dove in and I got out. So now they call for water. They're going to, we're going to go to an exterior operation. And that's how I got coated with the ice. Greg and I were in the bucket. We knocked the fire went up to the 4th floor. So we knocked 2 floors of fire down. And, it was cold morning and yada, yada, yada. So now we're over. We're done. And
that's what you're saying. Hey, come get me.
Well, no, 102 was leaving. They were leaving because they got, take up. But I says, hey, don't leave without me. So
hey, you got your hood there. Your hood looks good.
See, yeah, it was only a couple hours old. Man. But that's Richie Di Padova. He was a chief in the 5-7. That's like you can cut off there. But that picture.
I went to Proby school with his son, Di Padova.
Andy.
Yeah.
Andy. So
that was in the magazine. The what the fuck is the name of that magazine? What was the magazine we had in the firehouse all the time? I can't think of it.
WNYF magazine.
WNYF. Thank you. Yeah, WNYF.
I don't think that picture was in the WNYF.
It was in the back. Yes, I remember seeing it.
You remember what episode? I have a bunch here, and go look.
The next day after that incident of my shit in my pants, I get overtime because it's the end of my, it's my second tour.
Right.
So I'm in the firehouse on Bedford Avenue, and the 3-4 battalion was still in existence. And, Bob, you want to work overtime? I said, yeah, okay, all right. Oh, you got to drive the chief. So I never drove the chief before. I said, all right, well, what the fuck, what could it be? So I'm working chief's aide in the 3-4 battalion, first time ever. We get a box in with 108 and 216 on Graham Avenue, manhole fire. And I'm just like, I'm standing there with a fucking clipboard. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So all of a sudden, boom, the fucking manhole goes flying. So I was a student, and I know it said, don't run.
Oh, wait, don't run. And always look up and look up.
If it's going to land on your head, then you move, then you run. So the fucking thing's coming right towards me, and I run. So what the fuck?
They never go towards anybody, really.
So,
2 days in a row, you
that morning, and then later on in the afternoon, the fucking manhole almost lands. So now, the next day, which was Friday the 15th, I didn't have any kids. My wife was like 6 months pregnant at the time with the first one, and she was working at the time. And I go to the candy store to buy the newspaper, and the fucking front page of the Daily News. I think that I have a picture there of the Daily News.
This one.
So I go to the candy store, and that's what I see. So I start laughing. So the young girl behind the counter, she's on the phone. She says, "Oh, what are you laughing at?" I says, "That's me." She says, "Oh, I was just talking to my friend what a fucking picture that is, I says, "Yeah, it's a long story." But that picture
Good one. You got some
was
time?
on the WNYF, which I'm sorry, it was on the Department Orders, which they had a thing. It started in January of 88. That they would put pictures and whatever. I don't know what they called it, but that was the first picture.
I like how they tied it into the Jennifer's final hours, last drink and talk of sex, and there you are.
So you're familiar with that story? That whole? Do you remember that story back
No.
Is that the one in the Central Park?
It was. They called it a. Not yuppie. Not
yuppie rape or whatever it was.
Yeah. That was it. I don't remember the guy's name, but that picture also. I'm good friends with Paul Ferro, and he told me that picture, 6 foot tall, in the IAFF headquarters in Washington D.C. I never seen it, but he told me that's one of the pictures in their headquarters lobby.
Awesome. That's.
But
now I know why he had a hood on, because you always wonder, like, how did that guy have a hood on if he was like back then? We didn't have hoods then.
No.
Interesting. See that?
Did you ask the guys in 102 how come they left you up there? They didn't tell you they were going down? Well,
I never really.
After you run for your life, you never really.
Yeah, I never really approached that. Why did you leave me up there? But anyway, where are we?
We are transferred to 102.
We were 102, yeah.
We got the almost
getting promoted to lieutenant. We got to move a little quicker because we got an hour and 15 in.
We're going to promoted to
so
lieutenant.
I got promoted in June.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
To Division 3 and assigned to ladder 12.
Well, I covered Jerry Tracy. I called up. I didn't know. I got assigned to the 3rd Division. I didn't know anybody. Jerry Tracy, I knew from 108. I was in 102. He was in Ford truck. I called up Jerry. I says, Jerry, how you doing? I just got assigned. Oh, He says, Bobby, I'm going on vacation. Nobody's covering my vacation. You covering my vacation? I says, Ford truck. He said, no, nobody's covering it. I'll call it up. They'll call you what you're doing. So my 24 partner was Tom Galvin. He was the captain of Ford truck. The first tour, I was an up and down 24 in the middle of July of 1990, and it was the Empire State Building fire. So I'm driving in from Valley Stream, and I'm listening to 1010 Winds, and they're telling these harrowing stories about a big fire, the Empire State Building fire. Fucking fires wrapping around the core and blah, blah, blah. And guys are getting burnt. I'm saying, what the fuck am I getting myself into? I says, I was never more than 10 feet away from a window. And now I'm going to fucking Manhattan. So John Bell Navis, who I worked with, his brother George in 102, telling me, howling. It's amazing that we didn't lose a dozen guys. That fire. I'm going to move it along. There was another story while I was doing that vacation. So there was old law tenements under demolition right in the heart of Times Square, where they sell the tickets for the shows. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's called, ticket, whatever. Yeah, so there was a bunch of old law tenements that they were under demolition. So when they were doing the cutting or whatever, the cornice went on fire. So I got 7 years on the job. I'm first-time lieutenant in Ford truck in Times Square. So we go to this, little fire.
Under the microscope.
So I says to the chauffeur, I says, why don't you hit it with the aerial, knock it down, and we'll hit it with the booster.
They ain't doing that.
He goes, yeah, Lou, we don't do that around here. So I look on the curb, and everybody's got a fucking camera.
Nobody's.
I says, bro, do whatever you do. So
you do you.
There, they got the fucking pull cutters. They're going with the booster. They're going to knock it down. They take it. Yeah. They gift wrapped each piece. They're coming down. Is that right? 12. I get assigned. Rod O'Connor was a fireman in Ford truck, lieutenant in 235, captain 12 truck. Knows me. Knows I'm covering. At that time, 7th Battalion went from the 3rd Division to the 1st Division. Bobby, we need a guy, lieutenant, blah, blah, blah. I was studying for captain. I liked 12 truck. The response area was decent. They didn't do a lot of the high-rise stuff that I didn't like. They did Olor tenements and H-types and brownstones. So he asked me, I went and was in 12 truck for a bunch of years. Guys there was Rod O'Connor. Jack Gibbons was a very senior guy when I was there. Clarence Singleton, which he retired as a lieutenant in 218. Big Angel Rivera. Wayne Petretti, Mark Fredrickson, great guy. Larry Cohen, Matt Cassidy, Tommy Lane, and Heinz Cothey. And Paul Ferro was a lieutenant in Engine 3 while I was there. So I got a quick story about Heinz Cothey. So after I get promoted, there was a guy in 12 truck that had a construction business. So I'm already gone, and he hired some of the guys in the firehouse to help him, work on construction in Manhattan. So I wish I could think of his name, but I don't remember his name. So Heinz is working for this guy, and they're walking up to the building with it, and they smell smoke. So they said, oh, fucking something's burning. Something's burning. Oh, fucking building over there's on fire. So one of the guys, there was 3 guys. One of them was lieutenant. I think it was, can't think of his name. Larry Bleeker. Larry Bleeker, who ended up being a captain in 230. Heinz Cothey and this other guy, they go into the fire, into the building. Heinz goes up to the roof. So 16 truck was first due. So I guess the other 2 guys go to the fire floor. They're doing whatever they're doing. But there's somebody at the window. So Heinz is in dungarees, construction clothes. So a guy that I grew up with, his father was this guy, Bobby McLaughlin, my father's best friend, was the roof man in 16 truck. So Heinz says to him, come on, I'm a fireman in 12 truck. I'll lower you down to get the guy out of the fucking window. They do a roof rope rescue. I swear to God. Wow. He ended up, Dale McLaughlin got a medal for roof rope rescue, getting lowered by some guy that claims he knows what he's doing from, That's
a lot of trust.
I worked with Dale when I was in 16 truck. He's a good guy.
Circle of trust right there.
Yeah.
It's like a sock that.
So moving along.
Left like a sock.
Like a sock.
95, I got promoted to captain. I did 6 months in the captain's management program, which was
torture.
Tough. Yeah, tough. I think there was 30 guys in the class. 15 did 6 months and 15 did a year. So I would have had to turn it down if I was in the year group, but I was in the 6-month group, fortunately. My job, this was the old headquarters on, I think, Livingston Street. And my job was to put the forms online. Like now, I guess that's a common thing. Like, but everything was by paper and carbon paper and back, So there was a pile when I got there. Somebody else had started it. So there was a pile of papers. So it took me 6 months to move the pile of papers from the left side of the desk to the right side of the desk. And that was my,
Good God.
Crucial.
Crucial, right? Like we can't use this guy anywhere else on the job. This is really what we
need a captain to do that.
I mean, it was, I don't say it was completely useless. While I was there was when Vanessa became commissioner. And I don't remember who was before him, but the 6 months that I was there, which I guess was the beginning of 96. I don't remember, but he brought like a lot of good ideas. Guys felt questionable, but I remember the fireman's rotation, Right. So he had all these new captains, 15 new captains. And he said, yeah, I'm going to have this idea. I'm going to do the proby rotation. Ask me any questions you want. Somebody says, why do we got to do this? And he had a great answer. He says, well, 10% of the companies are doing 90% of the jobs. He says, I'd rather have a guy go to a busy company for a year than never go to a busy company.
Right.
It kind of made sense and you learn things in a good house that you maybe want to take back to the house that you were in. And
it gives the guys a chance to go somewhere else. Maybe they want to go to a busy house. They're stuck in a slow house to get complacent and then never want to move.
I seen that in 3 engine and 12 truck. I said, guys wanted to go to busier houses. Guys wanted to go to slower houses. Guys go to a closer home. But so that's that. I get assigned to the 7th division, but then they turned it back to the 15th, and so now it's 97. I hear rumblings about these new squads. I'm a covering captain. I loved 252 engine. It was a great house, single engine. I think the rumors were that was going to be one of the squads, and I put in for 252. So I think it was a letterhead. Did I have the letterhead?
You had one of the, but not. Oh yeah, it was for the squad for 252.
So that's what they asked for. They asked for divisions to poll your captains who wants. So I put in for 252. Steve Rasweller was the captain, and I found out later on that he was putting in for it, but. A guy I knew was the executive officer of, I guess it was Von Essen at the time. And he says, 252, Steve Raswell is staying, 18's open. Do you want that? So I says, it's a tremendous opportunity. I ran in with Engine 18 when I was in 12.
That's right.
I wasn't
first, second do there, right? That's right.
Yeah. I wasn't in the system. I never was in a rescue battalion company, but it sounded like a tremendous opportunity to me. I was already studying for battalion chief at the time. My wife says, at the time, what the fuck? You hated working in Manhattan. What do you want to go back? And one of the things was, to their credit, was all the guys from the engine says you take all of us or you take none of us, which I kind of admired, but I think they all left. And so I would have had 25 new guys, some guys that had rescue experience. Most guys didn't. So I would have been, mentoring or not mentoring. That's, training with these guys. So Jerry Tracy, I believe, was the first captain.
Yeah, he was.
In 18. So that was, I guess, 98. So now December 18th, 1998, I was UFO in. That was like a busy time, 98, 99.
236.
Yeah, I don't think I was UFO there yet, but I was covering, and I was doing Jack Mooney's vacation or tour or whatever. He was the captain of 103.
Yeah.
And it was the night of December 17th, I think. The fire was on the 18th. So rest in peace, Joe Cavalieri, Chris Bopp, and James Bohan. So Mike Donovan was the officer in 290. I was in one. We knew each other from the 5-7 Battalion. Great guy, friendly. We were friends and working. I loved working on Sheffield Avenue. I tried to work there as much as I could. They went to fires. They wanted to drill. I mean, I just loved working there. So I worked as much as I could. That was the first of my 2 night tours. I was working the 17th and the 18th. So I'm working at 103. There was Ludwig Bauer was driving. Vic Spadaro was the OV. Bobby Higgins was the roof man. Dan Libretti, who, rest in peace, he died on September 11th in Rescue 2, had the irons. And Jim Schwecke was the detail across the floor. He had the can. So we get a run. The call came in at 4:52 a.m. We got assigned at 4:54 a.m. I know where Vandelia Avenue is. I just didn't know which building it was. But we're following 90 down Penn, and Mike Donovan sees the fire on the top floor. So he gives a 1075. We're still driving. I'm saying, where's the 1075? So we make the right on Vandelia. Earlier in the evening, we had a food on the stove in a building right across the street from 17 Vandelia Avenue. So it was a food on the stove. 170 and 257 were first due. We were second due. Food on the stove. They go up. They do their thing. Bobby Higgins goes up to the roof, and he comes down later on. He says, "It's very windy up there. Be careful for a top floor fire." This is earlier in the night. Jeez. So, okay, now fast forward. We got a top floor fire. At 290 gives a 1075 at 4:58. At the same time, the dispatcher calls me on the radio. 103, we have a report of a woman trapped in apartment 10E. That was also at 4:58. So we go walking up. I'm not sure if 290 went up first in the elevator or 57, but I said to Joe Cavalieri, I said, "You're first due. You take the elevator. We're waiting in the lobby." Vic Spadaro gives a fantastic size up, goes to the rear. He says, "Cap, the fire's on the top floor, exposure floor, blowing in." So great. So I says to the Dan Libretti and Schwecke, I says, "Come on, we'll take the stairs." So we go to exposure 4 stairs, and what happened was the SIDS information was reversed because the building that we went to earlier in the night, the standpipe was in exposure 2, but whoever wrote up the SIDS card just wrote the same thing for the building across the street. So everything was reversed on the SIDS. So we walk up, and I'm not carrying nothing, so I go up, first, and I never had to do this before, but I put my face piece on the half landing between 9 and 10. And I had stopped into 9 to see where the E-line was.
Yeah.
So I'm heading for 10E. I stopped 9E. So I said, okay, it's the first door on your right when you go in. So, but I never had to put my face piece on when the fucking door is closed to the hallway. So I said, holy shit. So I put the face piece on. I go into the hallway.
After you just walked up 10 flights.
Catch your breath.
So
Catch your breath
I get in the hallway. It's hot. I bang on the door. The woman opens the door. She's in a wheelchair. So she goes, I push her in. I turn her around. I pull her out into the hallway. I go towards the door to the stairway. And Dan Libretti comes up. I says, grab the feet. Let's go. We carry her down to the 9th floor. And at the same time, 257s bringing the line up. 290, I believe, was stretching at the same time. We get her down to the 9th floor. I get back up to the door of the hallway, and 57 is getting burnt. At the time, you were allowed to hook up on the fire floor. They're getting burnt with the fucking door closed, trying to hook up the line, in the standpipe. So 90 stretched the second line. They come up. 57 didn't get their line hooked up. I says, okay, you ready? We'll open up the line. Oh, we're getting burnt. One line. We tried once. We tried twice. We called for 283, I believe, had the second line from the 8th floor. Now we have the
two lines, right?
2 lines. Open them up at the same time. Okay, ready? Go. Open up the door. We were able to get in the hallway. And that only with the 2 lines opened up, that's how we got in the fucking hallway. So it was...
I think Dom Carino had the nozzle too there, and he's like, I talk about him all the time. Like, he's burning his ears are going to burn off him before and all those guys went to the burn center.
They all went, yeah. 83, I believe, was on the left side of the hallway, and 90 was on the right side. I'm kind of like in the middle, pushing down. The Maydays had already occurred, and we're trying to.
Those guys were on the floor from the other side. I think they went up the other.
Yeah, definitely. They went up exposure 2. And years ago, they used to call it a wrong way fire when the wind was blowing into the. So I think the minute or two that I was in that hallway, the fire wasn't blowing out. Well, it wasn't blowing in. It was blowing out. And then the gust would come in. It would blow back in. So I read the safety report in preparation for this, and they said that, which was true, the fire was from the floor to the top of the door, coming out, hitting the wall on the other side of the hallway.
That's crazy, man.
So it was a very, very bad night. I remember John O'Connor was the division commander. He had that fire, and I remember him saying, he says, Bobby, I work one night too many.
Wow.
He had a career. And he, retired after that. But it's a chief's worst fear is
going to guy on your watch. Yep.
Right. So
and to have 3 guys.
Yeah, it was terrible night.
Yeah.
There you go.
Still disgusting.
Yeah.
So I had another funny story. I know Tony Variali was on here. So
I start laughing.
I don't think he'll mind me telling this story. So I was UFO in 236. I'm very happy there. I think I was, pretty safe getting that spot. But how it was if you didn't put in for any transfer order coming down, if you didn't put in, they would fucking assign you places. So, I'm not going to say a slow company in the 15th, but I don't want to go there. So I put in for every time there was an opening, I would put in, even though I'm where I want to be. So it was 120, 283, 126, and 275. Those are the 4 companies I put in for. So I knew Harry Werner was going to 120, Rocco Rinaldi was going to 283, and I didn't know who was going to the 2 companies in Queens. But so I'm happy where I am, and I get a phone call a couple of weeks later from the fire commissioner's office. Yeah, Bobby, did you put in for 275 engine? I says, yeah, why? He says, yeah, the fire commissioner wants to interview you for 275. I says, for a fucking engine company in Jamaica, what's the fire commissioner getting involved with? So it was me, Tony Variali, this guy, Bob Bell, who I knew's father was a volley in my company, Valley Stream, and Tommy Yawa, who we were probies together in 230. Those are the 4 people that were interviewing. So we go to headquarters. They're all in regular, dress uniform. I got my work shirt on. I think I had a hat. They had hats on. So they called us one at a time into the conference room. Commissioner, the executive officer, the chief of department, Gansey at the time, everybody's in there. So Tony Variali's like, he had a run-in with Fian, Chief Fian. So Tony's funny, he says, if Fian's in there, because if Fian's in there, I might as well go home. Because he told me I'm never getting anything. Is Fian in there? So the first guy is whoever. No, Fian ain't in there. So he comes back out to the lobby. Second guy goes in, does his 15 minutes interview, comes out. Tony's like, is Fian in there? Because if Fian's in there, I must well fucking leave. Fian's in there. No, Fian ain't in there. He was first deputy commissioner at the time. So, okay, Boyce, you go. So I go. So I'm here. Vanessa to the right. Gansey, Fian, 3 or 4 other people. So, Bobby, what do you want at 275? I says, it's an active company. He says, yeah, we have some kind of politician, very influential, wanted a strong captain for 275. So I said, yeah, I'd love to work there. It's a good company, good house, blah, blah, blah. So I go, he says, okay, bring in Tony. So I go back to the lobby. I says, Tony, you might as well fucking go home because fucking Fian's in there. Oh, he's full of shit. He's full of shit. I walk him back. I open the door. He looks in. He sees Fian. He looks at me. I says, I told you. So he didn't get it. He got 302 later on. But
he was at 302.
It was a funny how things work in the fire department, But. So I get booted out at 236. How much time we got? 5 minutes?
No, you got time. Chief, you got plenty of time.
I get booted out at 236 because at that interview, Von Essen says to me, so Bobby, where you working now? I says, I'm UFO in 236. He goes like this. Like he looks away from me. I says, wow, what? That was weird. What's that all about? Like a week later, I get booted out at 236. So I'm not going to mention the name. Some guy that had an in with Von Essen was a lieutenant there. He wanted to go back as captain. I get booted out. So I get a call from the division. Yeah, Cap, you're working in 321 next week. I said, no, man, I'm UFO in 236. Not anymore. So
see you later.
I says, can I talk to the chief? So I don't remember the chief's name, but he says to me, all right, you're not in there anymore. Charlie McGrath, captain in 157, just broke his back. He says, I'm going to put you there, UFO. I said, all right, fine, perfect. Great.
Yeah.
So it was like one tour before I went to 157. So I was in 107 one night. It's a Friday night before I started in 157. And Cap Department phone. Captain Boyce. Yeah, Bobby, how you doing? This is Pete Gansey. How you doing? And I'm like, who?
What the hell is going on?
Chief of Department. He says, Bobby, I heard, 236. I think it was John O'Connor. He says, he told me he's putting you 157. He said, I'm going to give you 111. Is that okay? I says, yeah, Chief, whatever you tell, whatever you tell me, whatever you say, I'll work wherever you tell me. He says, hang up. He's going to call, act surprised. So like 5 minutes later, Captain Boyce, department phone. Okay, how you doing? Yeah, Bobby, how you doing? I rethought. I'm not going to put you in 157. I'm going to put you in 111 UFO. Is that okay? I says, yeah, Chief, whatever you tell me. Whatever, I'll work wherever you tell me to work. So that's how I,
Nice.
So for whatever reason, Gansey, he was a chief in the 5-7 when I was in 102, and he interviewed Greg Seminara for getting me out with the bucket. So I don't know why. I think maybe he had heard for Vandelia Avenue. This was right after the Vandelia Avenue fire. I got back to quarters that morning after the fire, and I got everybody together, the 5 guys. I says, guys, you guys did a fantastic job this morning. I says, 3 guys died trying to get that woman out. We got out. I says, we're not putting in for nothing. No, Cap, you're right. You know, we know what we did. That's fine. So I can't help thinking somehow that got back there, you know, that we just did our job, you know, and I'm not going to fucking put in a unit citation or something for something that guys, so that ain't happening. And they all agreed, and everybody was good with it. And so I went to 111, and which was like a fucking dream come true.
You kidding me, man?
It was way out of my league. I'll be the first one to admit it. I remember I was UFO there. It was annual inspection. You know, you line up, you did the inspection, everybody's got the hats on. So some deputy comes by, you know, roll call, we do the roll call, salute. The deputy says, all right, Cap, Bobby, have somebody get, you know, the left-handed spanner wrench or whatever he asked for.
The smoke bender.
He says, have the junior guy get the, I go like this. I said, that would beat me, sir.
Oh shit! Who was you had all the old guys there, right? I mean, it's incredible, right?
Guys. So when I was there,
Conway,
Chris Sullivan was one of the lieutenants. He was UFO there when I got assigned there. He died on September 11th. He was working in the engine. Tony Cruz was one of the lieutenants. Steve Luisi was one of the lieutenants. Charlie Williams, who I loved, he lived in the neighborhood. Kenny Connolly was a senior guy. He got the Gordon Bennett and Archer medals. He was one of the chauffeurs. Richie Spatafora, great guy. Greg Seminara, who got me out with the bucket a couple of years earlier. Richie Spatafora was one of the guys that rode the bucket down when the building came down and sheared the bucket off of 111 in Bushwick. Joe Valenti, Mike Trezza, Billy Reed, Richie McCabe, Eric Weiner, Nick Cicero, Ray Strong, Jimmy Elson, Fred Saporito, Chris Isa. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the 5 guys from the house that died: Chris Sullivan, Carl Bodesian, John Florio, Kenny Watson, and Mike Roberts. Died on September 11th.
Doing good, Chief. You're doing good. How was BA? What was he like that nut?
I thought you said BI for a second. I'm like, what?
Oh, no, hell no. Hell no.
He's a character, and you know, I loved him, and he was a good fireman. That's all you can ask for. He took a detail. I don't know if he was on the detail driving in the 3.7 when I got there or soon after, but while I was there, his year came up for the detail to drive in the 8. So he says, Cap, you know, my year's up in the 3.7. I'm going to put the paper in. Blah, blah, blah. I says, Bobby, nobody's pressuring you. I says, you stay there. This is your company. You stay there. You don't have to put your paper in. You stay there, and when you want to leave, you come back. So it's another story, but I don't want to tell that out of school. But he came back when he wanted to come back, and it's fine.
Crazy.
What'd you like most about that house, Cap?
Well, you know, when I was there doing my details from 2:30, it was the Nut House. And that was, you know, the early 80s, and now it's the late 90s. So a lot transformed. And I honestly, I'm going to credit Bob Turner, Mr. Captain 214, with the priorities were, fire duty back then, but that wasn't the only priority. And when Bob Turner was the captain, he put the lid on, and it was just fires and drilling, and that was the priorities. So when I went back there in the 90s, that was the priority. So, I wanted to mention earlier on, there's two types of firehouses. One type of firehouse where it's easy to be a fireman and hard to be a boss. The other type of firehouse is where it's easy to be a boss and hard to be a fireman. I want to be in a firehouse where it's hard to be a fireman and easy to be a boss. I don't want to be working in a place where I got to let the senior guys run the house. That's the way I look at it. And that's how I aspired to work in a place that ran itself, and the senior guys ran the house. And I'm just, shuffling paper and
showing up at the job and hoping
everybody they drilled. And I certainly wasn't the most knowledgeable, experienced guy there. And I made sure that Eric Weiner or Ray Strong or somebody else is giving good drills. And, I said in the beginning of the tour, I said, what do you want to do today? Oh, there was this vacant there last week. Let's go over there. We go over there. We're cutting fucking holes. We had rotation guys drilling. It was great.
It's a lot of good work there, of course.
Yeah, I mean, one funny, so one night there was a guy running around in Bushwick setting stairways on fire.
Yeah, the Austinist guy. I remember him.
So we had 112 down that way. So Charlie Williams was my chauffeur, and he looked like Idi Amin. Big round face. All you see is his eyes. Great Vietnam vet, senior guy. So he's driving me one night, and we're running into Bushwick. We go to a second alarm, good fire. So this was the rundown. So the can man was from 222. The irons man was from 214. The roof man was from 112. Chauffeur, OV, and me were from the company. So we had a good fire. The irons man got burnt from 214. Curran, I think it was Jimmy Curran. I'm not sure the first name, but so he got burnt. He goes to the burn center. So now we're riding short. So we take up from that second alarm, and we're going back to quarters. The guy from 112 says, "Oh, can you stop by? I want to get a change of clothes." Yeah, okay. We stop. We get a change of clothes. We're driving, I think it's Gates Avenue, going back to the firehouse, and a box comes in. Blah, 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 phone alarm. Blah, blah. So between Gates and something else. So Charlie Williams he says, "Cap, that's right around the corner." I says, "Yeah, no, I know, Charlie." So I turn around. I see Nicky Cicero has the OV. I says, "Nicky, what do you say? What do you think?" He goes like this. I says, "All right, let's. We're not going to go in the air. We're just going to drive past and see if
check it out. We'll check it out.
Stealth mode.
We make a right. We make a right. We're not. We're still assigned to the other box. We make another right. It's through the bulkhead, in the middle of the block. I says 111 at Brooklyn. That job on whatever street, 1075. So we go to work. We first one there. No irons, man. I grabbed the irons. The kid had the can. It's going from top to bottom. And the OV goes, he's getting people off the fire escape. We just did what we had to do. So while we're doing this, and a company comes in, shorthanded engine company, because they were at the other job. Somebody goes to Bobby Gleason, I think is the chief. And a cop says, "Hey, Chief, the building down the block's on fire." So he says, no, it's probably the smoke, So the cop goes, "All right." A couple of minutes later, the cop comes back. He says, "Chief, I'm not telling you how to do your job. The fucking building down the block's on fire." So he says to Bobby Austin, he says, "Bobby, BA, go, see what the cop's talking about. about 6 houses down. 37 Alpha, 1075. So the address that came in that we went to was for that fire. We only seen the one that seen because the fire was through the bulkhead.
He was doing
the guy
some good
ran
work.
out of gasoline, and that's why that wasn't going as good, because he ran out of gasoline. So you've had 2 fucking buildings on the same block. That was
that guy was
interesting
crazy,
night.
man. I remember that guy.
Oh, they finally caught him though. They got him.
252 was doing a lot of work with that guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 252 was going through a lot of work then. That also.
So in 2000, my wife got laid off from her job, and I know the job was always, like looking for guys to come offline. And Gansey I owed Gansey big time. So he was chief of chief of operations, I think, at the time. And I says, Chief, I'm very appreciative of you, taking care of me, giving me a great company. I says, if you need somebody offline, when I get promoted, I was number 6 on the battalion chief's list. When I get promoted, I'll help you, whatever I can do. He says, Bobby, we'll have something for you when you get promoted. So September 11th happens. You know that whole story, but I felt obligated to Chief Gansey to live up to my offer to come offline. So Cassano was chief of operations. So I told him, I says, Chief, I made this pact with Chief Gansey. I'm a new battalion chief now. If you need somebody, I'll do whatever needs to be done. My wife got laid off. I don't have to be with the 24s. So he says, okay, Bobby, we'll have something for you. So they made me the liaison to the police department. And I worked in 1 PP, and they made a captain from the police department as the fire guy. So I just happened to know him. We were volunteers together, and we ended up commuting together and blah, blah, blah. But I did that for 6 months, and then.
How'd you like that? Bad.
I thought
hesitation, I was like,
I'm walking around in a fireman's, pajamas, and I thought that they would be, but they treated me like gold. And then I went to OEM for 6 months. They made me a deputy commissioner for Homeland Security, which the fuck does that mean? Unless the building's on fire, what do you need me for?
Everybody needs a gig. It's a good gig, maybe.
That's not a bad gig.
People could have made that. I mean, people made that job. Do something on the side, retire, FEMA, but that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I did a year offline, and I had to go back. So
we go back where? Back to the field
in 03. Back to the 13th Division. I was UFO and covering in 13th Division and 5-4 Battalion, and I got promoted to battalion deputy chief in May of 07.
Everything was happening fast after 9/11, right? It was just happening.
Yeah,
quick.
I mean, I think lieutenant, captain, and battalion chief for exactly 5 years and 8 months each.
Oh my God! Oh, 5 years each. Okay, that's good.
5 years and 8 months.
Holy shit! But I know people who did that, guns that went from fireman to chief in some ridiculous amount of time.
Did a minute ago.
I don't know if he did it that quick, but there were guys I know who did it fast. Wow.
So I got promoted to deputy, and how much time? What?
We got time, Chief. There's no rush.
Don't worry about it.
So
no rush.
There was, just 2 other stories. One was this steam explosion. So I'm covering deputy in the 3rd Division, and you get in at 5:15, 5:30. I relieve the guy. I don't even think I was dressed yet. So about a quarter to.
I remember that.
Quarter to 6. This box comes in. There was a second alarm on arrival, and think I wrote the times down, but very, very quick succession. The captain in 21 engine got it as a verbal. They were going to, I think, an EMS run, and he calls it in. He says, he called it the mother of all transformer fires over the radio. This is the mother of all transformer fires.
I can see that though. It could look like that, maybe. I don't know.
It was
some of these pictures. I'm trying to find some.
So engine 21, engine 8, engine 16 initially on that mother of all transformers. That was at 1757. At 1758, he gets on the scene. He transmits a second alarm. So now you got, the whole second alarm assignment. And that's when I got assigned, which was 2 minutes to 6 o'clock. So the aide, I don't remember where they are up in Manhattan, but he takes me through the Central Park, hearing progress reports. I think he transmitted the third alarm before we got there. Jack Joyce was in the 9th Battalion. We get to, he says, the command post is at Lexington and 42nd Street. The steam explosion was at Lex and 41. So I get there and I meet the battalion chief. I go to open the back up to start getting dressed, and a rock slams through the glass and goes all over me, like the back of the car. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I said, motherfucker, what's going on here? So it looked like the end of the world was coming to the end. And the noise sounded like a jet engine.
Jet engine. I think I remember that story.
So I wrote a WNYF article. I don't remember when it was, but
the mother of all steam explosions.
I remember that was the whole thing. It wouldn't stop, right?
Well, and what I tried to delineate in the article was we had 7 buildings. So I broke up the intersection in 4 quarters, and I gave a battalion chief each quarter. But each quarter, like this was the northwest corner sector. 374 and 380 Lexington. One is a 52-story and one's a 28-story building. And also 122 East 42nd Street. That was a 56-story building. So that's 136 floors that just he had to be responsible for.
Crazy.
Then northeast corner was Kevin Woods, who's the chief of operations now. He had 128 and 150 42nd Street. One's a 45-story building and one's a 42-story building. That's 87 floors. And the other 2 sectors were, I'm sorry?
I'll stay in Queens.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And there was the shit was going on. Cops were coming up to us. Oh, there's an explosion in the subway. I have three train cars with thousands of people, and people were getting burnt.
Right, the subway.
There was 2 articulating buses right at the explosion. They had like 90 people in them each, and they couldn't get out because the fucking steam is now turning to water, and the water's boiling in the street.
They're the buses.
Yeah, they're the 2 buses.
Wow.
So that's how close it was.
Die at that, Chief? Did that guy in the car die?
There was one person that died. There was one person that died. I don't think the people in the pickup truck,
tow truck
died. But there was 90 people each in these buses, and Rescue 1 and Ladder 4 ended up carrying them all off, one at a time. I tried to get them to back up the buses, but because of the debris in the street, that didn't work. But the shit was on. There was a woman.
Look like a war going there, for God's sakes.
I mean, obviously, this is, I don't know, the next day or whatever, but it was dark, it was noisy, the mud, the asbestos, the rocks that were falling. It was unbelievable.
Yes.
So that was quite the operation. I was the deputy for a while, and then it ended up being I think a 5th alarm. I transmitted 1060 because the shit was falling from the buildings. I didn't know what was falling, and then as soon as you mention the A word, asbestos, everybody puts their shit hats on, and so
how did
that
you?
Was a whole nother.
Chief, how did you like becoming a deputy? How did you like doing that? Did you enjoy it or not so much?
was never a goal, but once you get in the swing of things, I waited for the 5-4 battalion for 5 years because that was the closest battalion and they did work. And I loved working there. And I waited 5 years because I turned the 5-4 or 5-0 town 3 times because they had 5-0 nights. I called them 5-0 nights where they fucking a lot of running, and they did work. But the ratio for work runs was the 5-4.
It's always the ratio, Roof.
So I waited for that, and I studied after September 11th. I studied for deputy by myself, and I didn't do well, but I did like towards the end of the list. And then I guess a couple of years later, I was in a good study group with, now I needed college. The other tests, I didn't need college. I kind of like skated through, but I never had college. So the other deputy test that I was studying for, I think that was I don't know when it was, but 2005 maybe. I don't remember when it was. But Jimmy Kane was in the study group, Joe Cunningham, Jerry Migliori, Steve Rainis, and Ed Ferrier, and me. And we were studying for deputy, and I said, all right, well, depends on how I do on the test, then I'll go to college. But I ended up getting promoted off the old list, and I didn't have to get to college.
Nice.
All those guys,
How to go get the
well,
college.
and they got promoted. So I don't know. People say that's a hard job. I love battalion chief. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's the one you would stay if you had to go back. That's the one you would pick. You think?
Well, so now,
yeah. Well,
now I'm deputy, and I get a phone call about a deputy chief that's in fire prevention, Jack Hodgins, and he did a year, and whatever he was doing there was a 3-star chief and a 2-star chief in fire prevention, and he was a deputy. So I get a phone call that, oh, Bobby, would you consider coming here? And then you can go to any division you want. So I said, I'm in the 11th division. I'll walk over and I'll talk to you. So it was Richie Tobin and I can't think of his name, but he was the chief of fire prevention. So he laid it out on the line. He says, look, give us a year and you can put in for any division you want. I says, look, I never really was a fan of that, do for me and I'll do for you. I never was a fan of that. I understood it, but I never did it. And I didn't like it. I says, look, there's about 12 other covering deputies. You ask all of them. I'm not saying no. You ask all of them. If they say no, I'll do it. But I want the 15th division. Okay, all right. So they asked a guy that his wife was sick and he needed to be home for the nights and everything. So it worked for him, and I was very happy that he got that. So I just, whew, that was close.
You didn't even have to say no. See that?
I said, yeah, I did the right thing. I said,
you did the right thing.
So now it's like 6 months later, and I hear rumblings that Ray Goldback is retiring. Now it's like, I think it's the end of 2008. Ray Goldback is retiring, and 08 or 07 or 08, I don't remember. I think it was 08. And I says, I'm not volunteering. They're looking for a guy. I said, I ain't volunteering, but if they ask, I'll take that job. Nobody wants these fucking jobs. They're tough to fill.
God, you see what I'm saying? Nobody wants these fucking.
I really, really respected Cassano, and I looked up to him, and I think he appreciated me. So he's a hard guy to say no to. So I get a phone call about going to Chief of Personnel, and I go and talk to Cassano and Galvin and Ray Goldback. So he says, I'm retiring January 1st. This was like the beginning of December. He says, I'm retiring like December 31st, you know. Would you do it? I said, all right, I'll do it, you know. So I mentored with him for a month. He leaves, and now I'm the chief of personnel, which I don't know fucking personnel from nothing. You know, what do I know?
Who knows anything?
I got a secretary. I got a car. I got to deal with GPS. And he left right in a good time because, you know, like it's all the tests. Fireman's test, lieutenant's test, captain's test, battalion chiefs, deputies, fire marshals, all the tests. And it's work. There's work that has to be done. And he left right in the beginning of it, you know. So now I'm doing all this, and you got to put together these, I forget what they call them, groups of, you know, on-site guys and come offline and make up questions. And I got to work with DCAS, you know, civilians. They don't like me. I don't like them. So I did it for a year. So every other week, Chief Cassano was the chief of department. I would have to meet with him every week or every other week. And you know what's going on. We're making promotions. We're putting a class on, blah, 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 giving them a rundown, openings, overtime. I'm giving them reports. So he, towards the end, like he says, Bobby, I fucked up. I should have put you in communications. I said, what do you want me to do? Next 2 weeks later, he says, Bobby, I fucked up. I should have put you in communications. 2 weeks later, he says, Bobby, I fucked up. I should have put. I says, Chief, I can only fuck up one place at a time. Put me wherever you want. I'll work. Tell me what to do. I'll work wherever you tell me to work. So he says, yeah, I'm going to put you in communications. So he runs it past Scapetta. Yes, okay. So go to communications. So that was, I'd say the end of 08, beginning of 09. 09, 10. I don't remember the year. Oh, it was, yeah. 09, I started personnel. 10, I started in communication. So that was a whole nother thing that, what the hell do I know? I mean,
was that another,
well, you know, I talked to the dispatchers on the radio, you know, right at 12th to Manhattan, but that's all I knew about communications. I know that they dispatch the boxes, they take the phone calls, but what do I know?
Shit.
And they're all good guys. And the Bureau of Communications, when I was there was 5 units. FDOC, which is the Fire Department Operations Center. That's, you know, firefighters, lieutenants, captains, mostly light duty, long-term light duty. Then you had the outside plant, which those are the guys that take care of the alarm boxes, the voice alarms. They're the electricians, the local 3 electricians that take, there was about 50, 60 of those guys. And then the cell phone unit, that was under communications. And then you had the emergency medical dispatch, which was the EMS call takers and dispatchers. That was under me. And then the fire alarm dispatchers. You know, you had different unions involved, and everybody's got, you know, agendas, and I have an agenda, and I wanted to, you know, do the best I could. But it was a big learning curve. And you probably remember about OTC or
OTB, like the official track betting back in the day. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I forget what it was. Some kind of call taking, outside call taking. I'm really so happy that I don't remember the
acronym. It was very riveting, I could tell.
Probably like how I feel about BI, Chief.
No, you probably remember because it was a big deal that they were transforming about how they took calls in from 911.
Oh, yeah, I remember that whole thing. Yes, I remember that whole thing.
I don't remember what it was.
They were going through PD first. I think if I remember, it would go through PD first. We wouldn't get the pin boxes for a while there.
Something like that. And it was a clusterfuck. And but you know, John Colo was the chief of communications before I was there, and I guess he's seen the writing on the wall about closing the individual COs and going to these PSACs, PSAC 1 in Brooklyn and PSAC 2, and I was fucking spending a lot of money. Like that PSAC 2 building was $600 million.
Oh my God!
Wow!
And you were in charge of that?
No. I was the fire department rep, but. Obviously, it was a police facility because they own 911. Shit. But then we were, you know, call takers and dispatchers were in the one in Brooklyn and the one in the Bronx. And we had, you know, EMTs and paramedics that were call takers and dispatchers and dispatchers. And so it was closing COs wasn't a big popular thing. And then the last thing that I was very involved with was the new CAD. So we had Starfire, which was from the early 70s, which was a computer program for airlines. So EMS had one, police had one, and fire had one. They were all 40 plus years old. And PD was doing a new one, and it could easily dispatch a fire truck, an ambulance, and a police car, easily. Spend at one time, but PD didn't want us to have access to their, dispatch, where the cars are and when they're going to get there and who's available and all of that. So they paid for a couple of millions of dollars for their CAD, and now we're designing one for us, for fire EMS together. The same CAD, so they talk to each other. Millions of dollars we spent. Overtime up the yin-yang. To get professionals that knew what they were talking about to design this thing. And when de Blasio came in, that went out the window. So I had to leave communications, and I tried to go to a borough. And at the time, Brooklyn was open and Manhattan was open. So I said to Nigro, I says, Chief, you got to get me out of communications. Please give me a borough, otherwise I'm going to retire. Okay, Bobby. Yeah, okay. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to put you in operations for the time being. And then, so the reshuffle happens, and Boyce is still in operations, and I didn't get a borough. So I said, all right, I'm going to retire. So I said, can I use my comp time? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Use your comp time. So when Nigro, was retired in, I guess, 02 or around there, if they had 100 hours, they had a lot, because they would earn it and use it. You earn it and lose it. I had 3,800 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a year and a half. So he, I guess he didn't realize that. So I worked for 9 months, 1 day a week. And I used some time, but I didn't use a lot of time. And I tried to work the 24s. The staff chiefs work 24s one time every 13 days. And they do the citywide. I love doing that. And anyway, so then he says, Bobby, you got to either shit or get off the pot. That ain't working out. 1 day a week. So I said, all right, I'll retire. So it took a year to get out.
That sucks.
And, yeah, it sucked. But I didn't leave when I wanted to leave. But the new chief of department had a different plan for me.
When it's not on your own terms, it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, especially that way. I mean, I didn't understand what you were talking about when we talked, Chief, about that earlier. And now it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, not going to mention a name, but
you can sneeze it if you want.
We sneeze them all the time.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Can you do it? It sounds like
he ended up getting fired, so he.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I remember that guy.
Not too shabby a career, Chief.
No, not at all.
Great stories.
So
yeah.
Well,
I know there was something else I wanted to bring up, but I don't remember. Oh, okay. Well, that's the closing.
Yeah, we're going to do that now.
Yeah. Is it that time?
First.
Oh.
Yes, it's that time.
So my wife knows that I'm not a big conversationalist. So she says, "How long is this thing?" I says, 2 hours. 2 hours? You're going to talk for 2 hours?
You did a great job. Tell her.
I'm talking about me in the fire. I'm talking about me in the fire department. I could talk for.
I said it goes fast. I told you it goes fast.
It's like the Passover meal. We're going to sit and read for 2 hours. 2 hours.
All right. 2 hours. Where's the lasagna? I need some bread. I need something to dip.
Got any oil? I need something to do with my right hand.
I appreciate it, guys. It was very pleasant.
All right, Chief. It's time for. Sorry, Cruz. Is it that time?
Oh, I think it is.
It is that time. It is time for the old school tip
of the day.
Day. Chief, take it away, buddy.
Well, I'm not going to talk about something firefighter related. I'm going to talk about career related. You know, I could easily say, "Oh, take your glove off and put it over your hand." That's how you know when it's starting to get hot. But I have two, and I live by these. And some people said I did well, I did successful, but I trudged through. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was I don't remember what it was, but anyway, I wrote it down somewhere. And I always put the fire department before me. There was a saying in the Marines, put the service before yourself, or something like that. And I live by that in the fire department. So my first closing advice is act like someone's always watching you, because someone is. And I you know, it's a kind of a shitty way to go about life, that somebody's always watching you. But I have this story of Lieutenant Gordon Simon in 230. I was in his groups for a while, and I was a proby, and there was a brass plate on the bottom of the office door. It was about maybe a foot high by 2 or 3 feet wide, kick plate going for the door. He said, "Bobby, I want you to wax this. I want you to clean it." I spent hours with a little piece of brasso on my finger, going over. I took 2 or 3 hours to do that little thing. But the point was, he was breaking my balls, which I understood, but I ain't going to let him get to me. And I tried to do the right thing. I tried to do a good job. And I cleaned that thing, and I went over it 2 or 3 times, every little inch, cleaning that brass kick plate, because the lieutenant wanted the new proby to do that. And I would always, when I was in 230, take a compartment out. I would paint the inside of the compartment, paint the tools, put all the tools back. I made a tool list from compartment, 1, 3, 5. I always wanted to be doing something, and doing something productive, going over the masks and what have you. The second bit of advice is have aspirations and work towards them. I always had aspirations. I wanted to work in the busiest fire company that I could get into. Shortly in my career, less than a year, a good friend, Billy Youngston, asked me to go into a study group. And, I didn't want to, but the way he explained it, 3 years, you'll have 3 years on, you'll take the test. It'll take you 2 or 3 years, 4 years to get promoted, blah, blah, blah. So I had aspirations of a busy company and to study, and I did. And I'll tell a story about Orman Samuels, a gentleman to the highest honor. He was one of the senior guys in 230. I got about a year on, and I'm studying in a closet somewhere. And he comes up to me and he says, "Bobby, I see you're studying for chief." So I says, "What's the matter with this old coot? Doesn't he know that you got to go study for lieutenant and captain first?" So his point was that, you're not studying for lieutenant, captain, you're studying for chief, which is a great job on the job. So, and I think that's about it. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you. Great stuff.
Great career, Chief. Great stories. Appreciate you opening up about those other stories. I know it was tough, but we certainly do appreciate it here. Guys, we have a couple of shout-outs tonight, correct?
Yeah, that too. And we also have a health and safety tip.
I don't have one on hand. Put up the, what do you call it first?
Okay, here we go.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
I found the paper. All right, tonight's old school health and safety tip Number 31, never store your bunker gear inside of your car or home. When bunker gear must be transported, use a gear bag or clean plastic bag. You don't put the bunker gear inside your kid's car seat. Not good. It's not a smart idea. Now let's do the shout outs, guns.
All right, so we have a couple of we have a firefighter death and an NYPD death. So a firefighter death here, unfortunately, this is a strange story from what I was reading. A piece of the apparatus broke and actually did some trauma to his legs, but unfortunately he died during surgery. Firefighter Raymond Muro. Is that how you say that? I'm saying that?
Yeah.
That sounds close.
Yeah. And our other shout out is NYPD officer who was unfortunately murdered. Didarul Islam. This was a line of duty death for NYPD.
And also, I want to say tonight, also, we're going to give the 5 bells to Chief Boyce's friend Mike, who died in the line of duty so many years ago, but he definitely deserves the 5 bells.
Mike Moran.
Mike Moran.
Right.
I ended up.
Rest in peace, brothers.
I ended up naming my first son after Mike.
Oh,
Mike
did you? Very cool.
Never forget.
You're a stand-up guy, Chief. Thanks for coming on the show.
Lou, just Saturday. I'm going to say no unless you hear from me, all right, bud?
Okay.
Thank you for the invite.
Von Essen's coming. You might want to change your mind.
He is coming, actually.
I know. You know who's not coming? Gons.
Guys,
Oh, you can't hang up on me now, though.
Thank
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, anytime. All right, guys. We'll see you. Well, I'll see some of you on the boat cruise on Saturday, and I'll see the rest of you on next Thursday. Until then, stay low and go.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the big one.
All right, guys. Have a good night. We're rolling heavy in South Florida. Stay salty, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Good night, everyone.